Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me here to this webinar about how you can do compliant, even FDA compliant e-signatures in Jira and Confluence. Considering the fact that this is more or less the first question that people from the quality assurance, regulatory assurance domain ask me when they ask about using Atlassian for compliance related processes. I'm surprised a little bit on myself that it took so long for us to have a webinar on this topic, but here we are, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Chris Cairns. Chris is the product manager and the director of software. So your title is director of software, but from my interaction with you, I think you very much act as the product manager for some, I think, the leading eSign apps, both from Jira and Confluence. So Chris, maybe you can introduce yourself shortly.
Oh, great. Thank you, Marina. Great to be here. Yeah, our team's been putting together e-signature solutions for Jira and Confluence Cloud since 2020. And I've been part of that effort for 5 years now. So we're very happy that people have enjoyed and are using our e-sign apps for both Jira and Confluence.
Thank you. And maybe I'll mention a little bit about myself. I'm Rina Nir. I'm the CEO of Radby, and we have actually two big occupation. One, we are a software solution partner, really specializing in supporting life sciences and also financial institutions in their wish to use Atlassian products in regulatory sensitive processes. And we also have an app, snapshots for Jira data into Confluence. Although this app is not the main reason we are here today, you will be able to get a glance of it in one of the demos. And the way that this presentation or this webinar is built, we are very light on slides. Actually, besides the opening slide, there is not going to be any slide. We will discuss the reasons, the use cases, and the advantages of actually having the possibility to have a digital e-sign in Confluence and in Jira. And then we'll take you through a demo because I very much prefer always to have a live demo in contrast of slides. Slides, let's say, we all know slides, but seeing things in real life is much more tangible. And we'll go through a use case that exploits both the e-signature on Jira and then takes it all the way to Confluence to build one coherent process across the Atlassian ecosystem. So just before we dive into the deep end of e-signatures on Atlassian, I want to confess that I've been around when we had wet signatures. So really creating paper binders with all our evidence and records and technical dossiers, and having to sign them and walking around the office, collecting signatures from the different stakeholders, putting them in binders and hoping that the office does not catch fire, for example, and with it ruin all our assets, all our evidences. And so happily we have gone a long way from there. So we moved from wet signatures to electronic signatures. That has been around for 2 decades and more. At least in pharmaceutical and medical technology. The FDA recognized electronic signatures back in 1997. And I think that I still see today big organizations using other electronic systems just for the sake of signatures. Did anyone ever have to sign for example, Kappa in DocuSign, or a release documentation that is streamed outside of Atlassian into a third-party system and stored there just because that other system is considered to be system of record. So the good news is that Atlassian Cloud, as well as data center, but our discussion today is really focused on Atlassian Cloud. Atlassian Cloud is ready to be system of record, not off the shelf. You do need to have extensions, and Chris here was innovative enough to bring to the table CFR 21 Part 11 compliant extensions that allow us basically to bring those regulatory workloads into the place where work happens. And that's always is the case for bringing things into Atlassian. Atlassian is such a big anchor. Wow, my camera is gone. So I don't know why. I'll see if it fixes itself. Apologize for that. One second. I have a feeling, if you allow me, um, give me 1 second. 1 second. I will change my setting because I think that one of the setting. Okay, Saskia, I will take off 1 second just to troubleshoot this. Chris, if you can
Sure.
help me continue, take it on for a couple of minutes until I troubleshoot this problem.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully the technical issues come back. We were talking about Part 11 and other regulatory um, customers that need e-signatures, but maybe don't know they can use an e-sign app in Jira or Confluence to help them get compliance in the place where they're doing the work. So if you have documents you store it in Confluence, or you have tickets that you're tracking in Jira, work items now that need to be signed, releases, change requests, other enhancements that need control, need formal signatures, with Jira Cloud and Confluence, with a few add-ons like our eSign apps. There's other signature tools as well. They can be validated as Part 11 compliant. They can generate a full audit trail. They can give you offline documentation, PDF records that you can show to auditors. Those are the tools that can really help you keep all your work together, not have to use as many third-party external tools. You're not shipping documents from system A to system B to system C just to get them signed, which helps with quality, helps with making sure you've got all the parts and pieces together. You don't lose documents; they don't get out of date, and hopefully that helps you line up your reviews if you're doing submissions, if you're doing medical devices or other regulated work, where you're just in a high compliance situation. As I said, Atlassian Cloud and Atlassian Jira and Confluence can both support signatures and highly compliant workflows. You can do your own custom workflows in Jira and work through things. Rena mentioned Kappas. Those is something we see a lot of, that people run a Kappa system in Jira to review and approve corrective and preventative actions. But as part of that workflow, you always need to do multi-stage reviews and approvals of your Kappa, of your plan, of your completion of the mitigation. And so historically we did that on paper. Nowadays you can do it more easily and more simply, keeping everything electronic, but still with the ability to do the workflows.
Okay, Chris, thank you. As you see, I somehow cannot manage to make my camera come live. So happily, there is a demo, so people will be more focused on the screen share than on the fact that there is no camera for me. I will let us jump right into into this actually, I think. Okay, here we are. So our use case that we have decided to just take you through it from beginning to end is an engineering use case, sometimes called also design control or software development lifecycle. Uh, let's assume that we have an application. In this particular example, we have a banking application. So not for the medical technology, but we decided to embrace the audience of banks in this particular example. Banks do have requirements for a controlled development lifecycle similar to what we can see often in pharma and in medical technology. And this particular example is for a requirement that is managed inside Jira as an issue type, which is a requirement issue type. What we need is we need to ensure that each requirement, especially if it is a requirement that has a regulatory source. So we have defined here a custom field that indicates that this specific requirement comes from a specific regulatory context and hence needs to be approved. Let me just quickly see how we have defined the workflow here. So uh, each requirement as such is opened as a backlog. Then there is a business analyst that works on it. The business analyst engages stakeholders for discussions and fleshing out exactly what is the requirement. And then it goes through approval, and only afterwards it goes into the backlog of development. Stories are fleshed out from that, and so on. And the critical thing that we want to show today is that after we engage stakeholder, we want the stakeholder and some other functions in our organization to approve via an electronic signature that they have actually totally buy into the way that the business analyst has phrased the requirement and they are endorsing it for implementation. The reason that we want to approve it upfront is A, of course, we want to have accountability and we don't want to waste our resources on a spec that is not mature. And we do that, doing that in Jira gives us the flexibility to manage each requirement at its own pace. There's no longer a need to approve thousands of requirements in the same time. Each requirement, as soon as it is ready, it could go on to deployment and be released in the next version of our app or system or device. So I'm now the BA. I finished writing up the description for this requirement and I'm sending it to approval. And that's basically where the eSignature capability of Jira will kick in. So now that it has moved to approval, I'll just refresh the view. And a signature pane is opened. So this area where you see under the signature is the area that is provided by the eSignature app from Digital Rose. And there's configuration here, which I have set up. There are two signatures that are required, an SME approval as well as a risk manager approval. We have two people in our organization that are qualified to give risk management approval. Both of them were invited. So this is connecting with the groups in Jira. So the app can invite everybody in that particular group to sign. Any person here, either myself or Theo, can come and sign it, and it will be sufficient from the risk management approval. And then we need another signature for SME approval. And just because it's a demo and it's very easy for me to sign, I'm assigned to both types of signatures. Let me just go ahead and sign. So the way to sign here is basically provide the name, the title, the meaning of the signature that you want to actually approve. I'm assigned two signature types, so I can approve any of them. I'll start by the SME approval, and I'm providing a PIN. So this is a personal PIN that what was issued for me by the app. Whenever I want, I can reset the PIN. The PIN has an expiration date and is totally personal for me and provides actually this extra element that CFR 21 Part 11 requires to make this a legitimate electronic signature. And once I enter the PIN, I execute the signature, and this is registered as a sign, a signature. The issue still remains in approval. So there is a little bit of configuration for the workflow behind the scenes to keep this issue in approval until all signatures that are required are obtained. I'll go ahead and I'll sign now the second signature type. So this time I need to provide risk management approval. I'll go ahead and provide exactly the same PIN as I did before. Again, so the third signature which was another option to obtain the risk manager approval by another person was basically removed because there is no longer need for the second person to sign. I already signed for risk management approval. And what else happened here? The workflow moved forward. So we are no longer in approval. We have moved to the next stage, which is basically story building is in progress. And now the development team can be assigned to this requirement and do with it whatever they need to do in order to make this happen in the product. Uh, Once the signatures were finalized, one second, there are a few things that happened. First of all, I configured the workflow so that these two signatures are now locked. They are in a state that is called final. They can be opened in certain circumstances. For example, if the if the requirement needs to be updated, yes, then we have a way to push it back in the workflow and reopen it and make all these signatures void. Another thing that happened is that there is a record that is created, and this record reflects how the issue was at the moment that it was signed. So this is called an archive for the electronic signature. It contains the key fields that I have decided are important to capture. This includes also some of the custom fields. So I wanted to capture the regulatory source and the technical analysis, which is at the moment empty, as well as the attachment. And that's basically a carbon copy, if you want, of how the JIRA issue was when all these signatures were obtained and we could have moved from the approval to the next stage. I'll ask Chris. Chris, do you think that I need to show anything else here?
Yeah, that's really good. Straightforward. Maybe just quickly show the audit trail at the bottom, signature audit, just to kind of reinforce that we're tracking every event that happens as the signatures work through the workflow. So is there ever a question on the process? What did the automation do? What did a person do? You can track, and you have that full visibility.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think this is what I wanted to show in terms of the demo of this tool. Few comments that I have about implementing it, because I did implement it in several projects and I have some feedback here. For anybody who wants to implement electronic signatures in Jira, the very first question I would suggest that you will ask is, do I need it? So it's maybe a funny question to ask, but um, I have implemented the regulatory processes for different companies, and somehow I find that not everybody interprets the regulatory requirement exactly in the same way. Some people throw electronic signatures everywhere, and they would maybe even here do several stages of approval at different points of time before release and before development and so on. While there are other companies who say, no, I actually don't need electronic signatures on the resolution of the requirement. It's enough for us to have one signature for a release. Now, the truth of the matter is that it probably is a matter of interpretation as long as you can defend it in a situation of an audit. I just want to say that the fact that you historically used to e-sign something does not necessarily mean that you need to continue to e-sign. I always try to recommend people um, to be a little bit less rigid with your implementation of the quality processes, but whatever you decide, stick to it and conform to it. So that's maybe one point. Another thing about the actual configuration of the flow, even in this demo, there were several decisions that were made in how this flow happened. For example, who actually needs to sign? Can we automate the fact that certain people will receive invitation? Can some signatures be optional while other are obligatory? What happens when when a signature is rejected? So, for example, if the risk manager here decided that they want to push this backward because there is actually an update that is required. So there are many small nuanced decisions to be made. The app itself does not solve everything. So the app provides you the facility and some hooks to define the configuration that you wish, but this has to be closely designed along with the workflow itself, with how you build your group, your user group in Jira, and other conditions that are really impacting how the workflow as a whole and the issue type and the fields, all of them are configured. Does that sound logical to you, Chris? Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, I think there's two main customer groups that we end up working with. Some of them do what you've done here, where they automate as much as possible using Jira automation workflows with post functions and other advanced configurations to take as many parts of the process out of people's must do manually. And again, in this case, you show a demo where the configuration of eSign um, automatically invited the right people for the right signature types for this issue type, controlled it and enforced that you can't move to the next stage before they're all done, even automated the generation of the PDF audit trail. So all that stuff is like done. So from a compliance standpoint, it's very easy. You're not waiting on anybody to do it, but there is an investment in time and testing and configuration. And you may need people like Rena with that expertise to set up this advanced workflow. We also have customers that just want to sign issues, and they'll set up some issue types, they'll invite people to sign, and they'll sign them, and they don't need to use automation at all. And so it can be very simple, but to get where, like the demo we saw today, to get to that automation does require some time and energy. And most importantly, figuring out what parts of your process do you need to sign, what types of things are critical to sign, and which things can you write up an assessment for a regulatory group to say, hey, we don't need to sign these anymore because they're not mandatory from a regulatory perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what I know about this product it's been around for a while. I think you are one of the early e-sign apps out there for cloud. Do you have a variation for data center? I do not remember if you have.
No, we're cloud only, so unfortunately,
Okay,
we don't have the technology stack that's compatible with server or data center. Just for
okay, that is fine. Um, and given the fact that it's a pretty mature product, are you still investing in the development of this product? And if yes, what could we see in the near future, if you can share something about it?
Sure. Yeah, we've been on the market for just about 5 years now for the Jira workflows, and we still have enhancements every month, regular cadence. Most recently, we've been adding things for some of the, I'll say, the more enterprise requirements, things like a configuration audit trail, um, enabling signatures for only certain projects and issue types in JSM service
Mhm.
management. Um, and a few tweaks and enhancements for automation, integration, and webhooks. Um, yeah, and this upcoming year, we are looking forward into adopting the Forge platform that Atlassian is promoting, and that's going to give us a few more hooks into uh, ways to interact deeper with Atlassian and some of the tools, some of automation. So yeah,
As
very
well as keep you busy. I'm sure that the
yes,
movement to Forge is going to be involved with significant work.
yeah. So we're also very interested in getting feedback from customers. So um, uh, people like yourself, Rena, have been a great source of feedback on things that can work better or things that we didn't think of when we're putting it together. So yeah, very much interested. So if you have a use case that's signature related but it isn't quite there yet, then please let us know, and we'd like to hear.
Okay. And I must say that my relationship with Chris grew as I have demanded things, and very often he could be very responsive. So don't don't be shy. It's worth asking. I have very good experience with the level of responsiveness. So yes, I think this is what we wanted to show about Jira. And assuming you have indeed built your requirements and all the other issues that you needed to build in Jira. So I'll just quickly show you the structure of how our data is in Jira, irrespective for signatures. So let's assume you have your requirements, and under each requirement, you have a set of stories that are implementing those requirements, and you then have the tests, and you do all your testing in Jira. So basically, this is a quick snippet of how your whole development and engineering can happen inside Jira. Eh, by the way, this specific view is by an app that is called Structure for Jira. It just gives you this very flexible hierarchy, and you can see actually all the links and see that it makes sense for what you need. So you need each requirement to be covered by stories, and each story to be then tested by test cases. Then you arrive to the moment of truth, and you want to have the release documentation for everything that you have done and expressed so nicely in Jira. And this is where a conference actually can help you out. So in this conference, I now moved, just to help people follow, I moved from Jira into Confluence. And in this area in Confluence, we have three different documents which are output of the design process and have to be signed as part of the release documentation. For example, one second. Yes, okay. Um, for example, we have the requirement specification, and I will here quickly show you how snapshot, and this is actually our app. It has nothing to do directly with the eSignature app, but it allows you to aggregate your traceability requirements all the way from Jira into a nice structure in Confluence. So this is a certain automation that is provided by snapshots and hence makes snapshots uh, popular among people that need to create those official release documentation. And let's assume you have that in Confluence on a page and you are ready to release the new version. You need to actually sign the document. So here we are moving from a process that is a design controls to document control. Uh, we have actually had already a webinar about 6 weeks ago or 2 months. When was it that we had a webinar with AppFox? So I must say that we are a little bit spoiled for choice in Confluence. There are few options to do control documents in Confluence. And we had a full webinar with another option, with a competition of Chris. Uh, but it's just another way to achieve something similar to what I'm going to show you now. And there are pros and cons. I think that uh, there are cases where the other app could be a better fit, but in very many cases, this specific app that I'm showing here is going to really do a great job. I'm just going to show you the marketplace listing for that one. So it's eSign document management and training for Confluence. And I'm going to quickly take you through a demo. And I will actually do that on a document that is still not initiated. Before I jump to the document that is not initiated, I will show you this document that has been already through the whole cycle. So this particular document is already in its third version. So the document ID is prod001. The version is 03. If I scroll all the way to the bottom of the document, you can see the signatures that were applied for the last version that was approved and the history of the document. Okay, so this document has already been approved 3 different times and all the history exists here. I will now get the test report, which is another release documentation. Again, it has a snapshot table. I think this one is empty. And nothing in the document control yet because there is no version that was officialized for that. Let us just quickly take this through the approval process. So the first thing that I need to do is to start this document off. So the control document system does not yet know this page. So I just need to set it up. What is the document type? This is a product document. So I can configure several document types and each one of them will have their own rules of signatures. The document control ID will be given automatically and the revision is 01 just because our revisions start with 01. I kick this off and I now want to assign reviewers. So in our product documentation, 2 signatures are required, compliance and product manager, and I can assign it to whoever needed to be signed. You see the configuration that I built here is simpler than the one we have seen in Jira. I will just quickly assign myself, and I also need to describe the revision. Since this is the very first version of the document, Um, I'll just write a small summary and I'll submit it. Basically, that would kick off an invite to the two people who need to approve it. The document has changed status. It is now in review and it requires these two signatures. I will quickly sign. Again, the format of the signature is by a signature pin. And once I have approved it, this is considered to be signed. I will now sign the second signature that that the document requires. Okay, let us now see how the document looks like. The status of the document is that it has been approved. Note that it has not yet been released, so even if the document is fully approved, it has not made itself yet to the body of our official documents, but the history is already there, so I see that the initial version is ready and it has already basically these two signatures. As the document owner, I can come over now and release it. And when the document is released, a copy of this specific page is sent into another space that is called the master space, so that we always have one page where we can draft and prepare the next version of the document, and the actual current version is always safeguarded in our master space. I will just release it, let it allow it to be released, and now basically the whole process of releasing the document happens. Okay, seems that it completed successfully. Okay, I can open it up here. Yes, I'll do that. So this document is the released version. What the eSign app did, it automatically added a prefix that gives provides the document ID as well as the version. This ensures basically that this is a unique page. And at the bottom of that, we have the control document information. So in terms of the approach here, each new version of the document that is released to a separate page. And once it is released, if there is already an older version of the same document, this older version either stays here and is marked as obsolete or is being automatically archived. That is a matter of configuration. The way that we have configured it here is that obsolete documents are automatically archived, which means that your tree that you have in the master space is always clean and has the latest versions. Yes, here, this one is an example from where we actually have the older version from before we did this change of configuration. It's just a good example because it shows you how obsolete versions are marked in a very eye-catching way that they are obsolete. So there is no risk of people actually using by mistake an obsolete document without knowing that it is obsolete. So I will just quickly show, because I think this is a point that can be a little bit confusing. We have two spaces. We have the draft space, which is the place where new pages are created or new versions of existing pages are drafted. So for example, if I needed to work on a new version of this document, I would open it here. I will work on it here on the draft space. and this will not confuse or create noise for the people who continue to use the master space until such moment that the new version of the document is being released. So this is the quick demo of Confluence. Is there something that you want me to show here more, or something you want to point out, Chris?
Uh, that was a good quick walkthrough. One of the things that's part of the app that we don't have time to do today is the training aspect, but just to carry on, what would happen is once you've published and released those documents, that new document revision, if it was a work instruction, if it was an SOP, then the system could automatically assign or manually assign training to your staff. They would all get emails and nag emails weekly until they finish their training, and then they complete training by applying a digital signature to the release documents to prove that they've actually signed them. And so that's
so when you talk about training, Chris, you are talking about read and understood training.
correct. Yeah, read and understood to verify they've read the document. It can do periodic, so you can have it once a year or once every 2 years, and also repeated training. If you've read a work instruction and somebody releases the next update of that work instruction, it can carry forward your training assignment and saying, because you were trained on revision 2, you also need to be trained on revision 3. But yeah, it's read and understood to and sign off that they've verified that, which is again another requirement in a lot of high compliance and regulated environments, that you have to prove that everybody's read the documents. Design control documents like your demo not typically need read and understood training, but document control processes, work instructions, SOPs, those types of things almost always need some sort of assertion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I want to mention here two things, two resources that are available for people who want to continue and dig into their options with control documents on Confluence, because this is, I know, is quite a big step for a lot of people to buy into the idea that they can have their control documents in Confluence. So there's a white paper that I have created and is published on the RADB website. Saskia, we will publish the link to this white paper. And also, if anybody who attends this webinar wants the white paper, you can also just leave a comment and we will make sure that you get this white paper. So the white paper, again, is not specific for a specific app. It can be applied no matter what is the app that you eventually use for doing control documents in Confluence. It just explains that you can do that, and it walks you through several aspects and several decisions or questions that frequently asked questions by people who consider doing control documents in Confluence. And the second thing that I want to point out is that this environment, this demo environment, both Jira and Confluence, which I have used, is open. So basically anybody can log into this site, go on these pages, create new pages, even have themselves sign. So if you want, you can actually play with the control document app here, as well as the eSign in Jira, and try it out for yourself. Chris, I know that the document app is the Confluence, sorry, the eSignature for Confluence is your newest app. It's the baby app, but it's no longer a baby. It has matured pretty quickly. What are your plans for this app over the next couple of months?
Yeah, you're right. It's our newest. It's just its 2-year anniversary, and again, we technically have two apps in Confluence. One is just eSignatures for Confluence, and then this one, which demo, just eSign documents. What we've recently been doing is, again, adding some more configurability to limit which spaces eSign's available in, adding support for folders, other technology things to align
Yes.
with Atlassian. being more easy to move documents after publishing because they get
Mhm.
locked down and controlled, and other workflow enhancements, more flexibility for people if they want to have the working copies locked on review, if they want to automatically start the next revision and allow the team to keep moving forward on the drafts, and just publish and move forward type kind of rapid environment. Um, some of the new things we're looking at, again, some improvements to notifications. Currently, we do weekly reminders for all of the users,
Yes.
but we've been asked to expand that to do weekly reminders for reviewers that haven't finished their sign-offs yet. Things like that to make it a little more automated. So some of those are coming soon. And as mentioned on the Jira side, we're also doing some research into full Forge support, which does open up some, again, some of the new tools in Confluence
Mhm.
to once we get onto the Forge side. But yeah,
Yes, I
continue to move forward. Go ahead.
yes, I must say, and this is maybe a technical note, but I will quickly mention it. You are moving to Forge, but even before you move to Forge, what I know about both the Confluence and the Jira application in your case is that all the data is stored inside the Atlassian infrastructure anyway. So even as you are today, there is no problem of data residency because the data is always on Atlassian. And if you have a system to back up your Atlassian data, then by default, it's also a backing up the eSignature data. Is that a
Yeah,
correct description?
yeah, that's a great point,
Yes.
and something that's very, very important to a lot of our customers. That number one, the all the signature metadata is stored with the issues web and in Jira or on the pages in Confluence, but also those PDF archives that exist both on the Jira and the Confluence side. Those are attached directly into the cloud. So even if you did the signatures this year and a year from now you're no longer using eSign, you still have that record of those signatures. That PDF is permanently yours and your company's. And like you said, it's backed up and stored with your Atlassian backups. So you don't have to do anything special, and there's no data risk because the eSign apps only do transactional processing on the metadata. It's all saved back into the cloud and not retained anywhere else. So from a security
Into the
standpoint,
Atlassian cloud. It's kept
Atlassian, sorry,
on the
yes,
Atlassian cloud. Yes.
for the customer's specific site.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, good point.
Um, nice. Um, so yes, I think this is basically to recap what we have seen today. We have seen a complete use case that involves e-signatures in different parts of the process. And this is basically an engineering flow where you have the software development cycle or system development life cycle managed inside Jira. And when you are ready for release, you generate your release documentation by basically automatically aggregating data from Jira into Confluence into the format and reporting that you need. And then you can sign it all off and keep it inside Confluence. So there is no need for people to sign in an external system, no need for a confusing people and forcing people, and also no need to pay hefty license costs for heavy old legacy systems. Um, so yes, I think that I'm personally ready for question now. Let's see if there are any. Saskia, thank you for joining. At least someone has a camera here.
We do actually have, well, one shout out I want to say to Chris and a question relating to that. So the shout out is definitely by a heavy user, it seems. They use eSign heavily in both Jira and Confluence, both of which are simple to use and robust. You can read all of those comments on LinkedIn, so I'm not making them up here. But there is a question around the exporting to PDF because they can be done, and I quote, okay, using build and export or scroll PDF app. There are limitations with this smart links not being rendered. So the question that came up, and I'm going to put it here so you all can read it: can Digital Rose adapt its PDF rendering to offer a page export to overcome this that will complete the document management portfolio?
Yeah, it's something we've been working with Atlassian quite a bit recently on trying to make their PDF exports faster and more reliant. It's one of the things that we're actually hoping to get better with Forge. Atlassian's investing a lot in Forge, and they've improved some of the export tools. So it's something we can definitely hope to improve upon to get links to work. I think this comment is referring to we have a smart link option where you put a hyperlink in a page, and it'll automatically take you to the most recent copy of that release document. So it skips all the obsoletes and goes to the most recent one. If you export to PDF, the default PDF browser kind of blocks smart links out, so you don't get that smart redirect back into cloud. But yeah, I think we're hopeful that that could improve going forward.
So I will complement what Chris said, and I hope I'm speaking to the question that was actually asked. So I am a big fan of Scroll PDF Exporter, and I just want quickly to show that if you're talking about Confluence itself, you can have a very nice Scroll PDF export that includes the metadata from the digital management, so from eSignature. So let me just make sure that I'm using the right, yes, this one. Okay, portrait digital rose metadata. This is a template I've prepared that will actually have in the heading and in the footer the metadata from digital rose. Granted, it's something that requires you to have this extra application from Scroll PDF Exporter. So yes, we have here, if you look at the header, we have here the product document ID, as well as the version, as well as the status. These are all metadatas from Digital Rose. So you could use that. It does not replace the internal snapshot function that Digital Rose has, where you are actually rendering the PDF using the default renderer from Atlassian, I'm guessing. But it is something that you can definitely use if you have other contexts where you actually need to export the PDF for third-party usage.
Yeah, it's very useful. If you want headers and footers to apply across the entire document, the built-in eSign macro only can display on the page that's rendered, like underneath the header there.
Yes, this.
If you want it on every page, which is sometimes a requirement for regulated documents if you're taking them offline to hard copy, it's a great solution. And as far as I know, there's no way to do that with the built-in PDF export in Atlassian Confluence, but Scroll can do that like you showed.
Yes. So, and I just want to say, having a custom PDF renderer is not a trivial thing. So, Scroll K15T have a big team that works on it for many years. So, I think it's good actually. Meaning, from my features, I don't think necessarily that Chris needs to focus his effort there. That's what I'm saying, maybe.
Yeah, we've had some discussions with Scroll in the past about improving
integration.
But yeah, if you want a well done PDF, as Rena said, it is a discipline in itself to make that work well and responsively. And Scroll has a number of API options as well for people that want to automate it. So you can do a lot with Scroll in terms of generating PDFs and taking them offline.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that as well. So I've seen people who have, once the document is being approved, there's an automatic process that exports the document with the right Scroll PDF template and stores it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Saskia, do we have any more questions?
That's all from my side. You've done a very extensive job there. We left very little open for question, obviously.
Okay. Chris, anything else that you want to add before we close us off?
Oh, just again, thank you for your time, and thank you, Rena and Saskia, for putting this webinar together and helping to support digital signatures, electronic signatures in Atlassian Cloud. If you have any questions about the products you've seen today, please reach out to Digital Rose, esign-app.com, and contact us, or reach out to me through LinkedIn, and we'll get you in touch with the team here.
Mhm. Okay, and thank you also from myself and being patient, and happily I could share my screen, so that compensated hopefully for the lack of camera. You will see me in other occasions, in other webinars, and as I said, we have 3 things that you can do as follow-up for this webinar. You can download the white paper. You can check out this sandbox environment, and you can watch some of our other webinars. So I mentioned already the webinar that we did with UpFox about control documents, another flavor. You can watch it and compare. There are, if you are interested in release documentation, in particular in snapshots, on our YouTube channel, there are loads of those. And actually, next week, I'll maybe give a shout out to the fact that next week I will be a guest at a webinar hosted by X-Ray that will be focused on test reporting with X-Ray for compliance purposes. So you may want to check this one out as well. Other than that, so happy that you have been here. Thank you again. And thank you, Saskia. And Chris, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you all.